This video was intentionally made so that ordinary people would leave. It wasn't made for people looking for another dose of motivation they'll forget in 5 minutes. It wasn't made for people who want comforting lies instead of uncomfortable truths. But if you've ever felt sadness, fear, failure, rejection, betrayal, loneliness, or if you've ever looked at the world and thought, maybe I don't belong here, then stay with me. Listen until the end. This isn't a flashy video. There are no cinematic edits, no endless animations, and no constant stimulation fighting for your attention. Just a voice, a simple visual, and an idea that might change the way you see yourself. Because if you're still here, despite the lack of constant entertainment, you've already done something most people struggle to do. You've stayed with a single thought long enough to hear it through. That ability to resist distraction and stay present is becoming increasingly rare. And it may be one of your greatest advantages. So if you're still watching, let's begin. Before we begin, I need you to understand one thing. This video is not about telling you what is right or wrong. It isn't about deciding what is good or bad. It isn't about defending an opinion or attacking one. This video is about mechanisms, the hidden systems that shape the way people think, speak, and perceive reality. Today, we'll explore 4 ideas. 1. How people think through words. 2. Why thinking through words works. 3. Why you don't need to destroy the systems that already exist. 4. Why building your own system is far more important. Everything you're about to hear should be understood as an explanation, not a judgment. Let me explain what I mean. Imagine someone playing a guitar. Can you say the act of playing a guitar is inherently right or wrong? No. Whether the music sounds beautiful or unpleasant is a different discussion. The mechanism of playing the instrument itself is neither good nor bad. It simply exists. Now think about driving a car. Driving itself isn't moral or immoral. Rules such as speed limits, licenses, or traffic laws are human-made systems designed for society. The mechanism is one thing. Our judgments about that mechanism are something else entirely. Throughout this video, try to separate those two, because many people confuse explanation with endorsement. If someone explains how manipulation works, they assume that person supports manipulation. If someone explains why people believe certain ideas, they assume those ideas are being promoted. Understanding a mechanism is not the same as agreeing with it, and that distinction is essential. Some of the ideas in this video may feel unfamiliar. You may even think, I've never heard anyone explain things this way. That's okay. In fact, I expect that reaction. This video is both accurate and misleading, but not for the reason you might think. It's accurate because it describes psychological and social mechanisms that influence how people think and behave. It's misleading because every explanation passes through the filter of your existing beliefs. People rarely reject information because it's false. More often, they reject it because it conflicts with the mental model they've spent years building. We don't usually experience reality directly. We experience our interpretation of reality. And sometimes our interpretations become so familiar that we mistake them for reality itself. So I have only one request. Don't try to decide whether every sentence is right or wrong while you're listening. Instead, ask yourself a different question. If this were true, what would it explain? Because that's where real thinking begins. Let's begin with a simple situation. Imagine you're standing in front of a group of people. Someone suddenly points at you and says, "You're an idiot." Without thinking, you shout back. Maybe you insult them. Maybe you push them. Maybe the situation turns into a fight. Now ask yourself, what exactly were you reacting to? The sound, the vibration of the words, or the meaning your mind attached to them? Now imagine the same situation again. Someone looks at you and says, "You're an idiot." This time, you smile. You say, "Take care," and you walk away. The words were exactly the same. The difference wasn't in the sentence. The difference was in your interpretation. Now imagine you're not involved at all. You're simply watching two strangers. In the first situation, person A insults person B. Person B immediately explodes with anger. The argument grows louder. Maybe it even becomes physical. In the second situation, person A says the exact same words. Person B smiles politely, says goodbye, and walks away. Most people watching these two situations will reach a conclusion almost instantly. They'll often see the second person as calmer, more emotionally stable, or more in control. Whether that conclusion is always correct isn't the point. The important part is this: people don't only react to events, they react to what those events appear to mean. Now, let's go deeper. If someone calls you an idiot, have you actually become one? Of course not. Nothing about your intelligence changed in that moment. The only thing that changed was the information entering your ears. Your brain then interpreted that information and produced an emotional response. This is how words gain power. Not because words can change reality, but because our minds often treat words as if they are reality. Think about it. If a stranger calls you a genius, do you instantly become more intelligent? No. Then why should the opposite be true? Words are symbols. They point toward ideas, but they are not the ideas themselves. The moment you understand that, you stop feeling responsible for responding to every opinion, every insult, and every label other people place on you. Not because you become emotionless, but because you realize that someone else's words cannot define who you are. Only your actions can do that. Can you imagine an entire room without using a single word? Imagine trying to describe everything around you without names. The objects, the people, the actions, the ideas. It becomes surprisingly difficult. This is because words are one of the greatest tools humans have developed. Words allow us to organize reality. They allow us to separate things, remember things, communicate things, and share experiences with others. Without language, every experience would exist as a confusing collection of sensations. Imagine seeing a tree but having no word for tree. Imagine seeing danger but having no way to communicate the idea of danger. Words create structure from complexity, and this is not a bad thing. In fact, society depends on it. Humans need predictability. We need to know that when someone says something, they mean something. We need to trust that actions and behaviors follow patterns, because without predictability, cooperation becomes almost impossible. A society where nobody could understand intentions, promises, or expectations would collapse. Language creates shared meanings. Shared meanings create understanding. Understanding creates trust. And trust allows humans to depend on each other. However, the same system that helps us organize the world can also create problems. Because sometimes we don't just use words to describe reality, we use words to define ourselves. And that is where things become dangerous. Consider these statements. I failed. I am a failure. I don't know how to use technology. I'm bad with people. I am weak. I'm a loser. These are not descriptions of fixed reality. These are identity statements. They take a specific event, experience, or difficulty and transform it into a definition of who someone believes they are. Let's look at the difference. Imagine you take an exam and fail. Someone says, "You failed the exam." That is a description of an event. It is connected to something measurable that happened. But if you say, "I am a failure," now the event has become an identity. One failed exam has been transformed into a conclusion about your entire existence. The same applies to other situations. If you drive a car and crash, the car crashed describes an event, but saying, "I am someone who always fails," creates an identity. The crash happened, but the crash is not who you are. This distinction is important because the brain likes shortcuts. The brain constantly tries to save energy. Instead of analyzing every situation from the beginning, it creates categories and patterns. This ability is useful. It helps us make faster decisions. But sometimes the shortcut becomes a prison. A person doesn't just think, "I struggled with public speaking." They think, "I am someone who cannot speak." The event becomes the identity, the experience becomes the label, and the label starts controlling future behavior. Words are powerful because they simplify reality. But we must remember, a word is a tool for understanding reality. It is not reality itself. The goal is not to stop thinking through words. Words are essential. The goal is to use words as instruments without allowing them to become the limits of who we can become. One of the most common mistakes people make is trying to change a system before they understand why it exists. When I say system, I'm not talking about whether it's fair or unfair. I'm talking about the way the world currently operates. Whether we like it or not, many people look at society and immediately ask, "How can I change this?" Very few stop to ask, "Why does this exist in the first place?" That question changes everything. Think about society for a moment. Every morning, millions of people wake up and perform different roles. Doctors treat patients. Engineers build bridges. Teachers educate children. Farmers grow food. Drivers transport goods. Researchers expand knowledge. Business owners create products and services. None of these people can do everything. And that's exactly why society works. Every system, even an imperfect one, usually exists because it solves a problem. That doesn't mean every system is perfect. It doesn't mean every rule should stay forever. But before changing something, you should understand what function it serves. Otherwise, you risk destroying the solution without understanding the problem it was solving. This idea applies to your own life as well. Many people spend years trying to control other people's beliefs, other people's choices, other people's behavior. But mastery doesn't begin there. It begins with understanding yourself, because the only system you truly control is the one inside your own mind. You don't need everyone to think like you. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You don't need to win every argument. You simply need to become the person your principles demand. Let other people choose their own path, while you quietly build yours. Real influence rarely comes from convincing people with words. It comes from becoming undeniable through consistent action. People don't trust ideas because they're spoken confidently. They trust ideas when they see those ideas working in someone's life. You don't have to force your worldview onto everyone else. You only have to live it well enough that it speaks for itself. If you're still listening to this video, you're someone who really wants to build something that exists. And that's exactly where we'll go next. Now, we've reached the practical part. Everything we've discussed so far has been about understanding the mechanisms. Now it's time to build your own. Before we begin, I want to introduce two ideas, not because they're magical, but because they give you a different way of looking at your life. 1. Context. Context is more than a situation. It's a person's priorities, their emotions, their expectations, their goals, their mental state. Everyone lives inside their own context. The problem is that many people expect you to live inside theirs. Imagine your mother says, "We're going to your aunt's house today. Come with us." You reply, "I can't. I have important work to finish." She becomes frustrated. Neither of you is necessarily wrong. You're simply protecting different contexts. Her context is family. Your context is your work. The conflict doesn't come from the event. It comes from two different priorities colliding. Here's what I want you to understand. You don't have to hate someone because they don't understand your context. But you also don't have to abandon your own simply because someone else expects you to. Protecting your time, your energy, and your direction isn't selfish. It's necessary. 2. Backward thinking. Most people think from today toward the future. That sounds logical. But for many people, it creates anxiety. The future feels uncertain, so every decision feels overwhelming. Instead, begin with the destination, then work backwards. Imagine you have an important exam in 7 days. Instead of asking, "What should I study today?" ask, "If I want to walk into that exam feeling prepared, what must already be true?" Then move backwards. 1 day before, revision. 2 days before, finish difficult topics. 3 days before, complete the remaining chapters. Today, what is the single most important action I can take? Backward thinking transforms uncertainty into a sequence of clear decisions. It doesn't predict the future. It simply gives your brain a map. Now, let's begin building your own. Week 1, observe before you change. Don't try to improve yourself yet. Just observe. Take a notebook. Write honestly. What kind of life do you actually want? Not what society wants. Not what your friends want. What do you want? Write about your future, your income, your health, your relationships, the work you want to do, the kind of person you want to become. Then go deeper. What makes you angry? What do you avoid? Who drains your energy? What do you fear? What habits keep repeating? What skills do you already have that genuinely create value? Not small party tricks. Real skills that move your life forward for the rest of the week. Live normally. Don't force change. You're collecting data. Week 2, observe your mind. Now start noticing the mechanisms we've discussed. Notice when you create identity statements. Notice when you're trapped inside someone else's context. Notice when words create emotions that reality doesn't. Notice how often your thinking follows automatic patterns instead of conscious choices. This will feel difficult, not because you're doing it wrong, but because your nervous system has spent years running these patterns automatically. Awareness always feels uncomfortable before it feels natural. 1 month, measure the difference. After 1 month, read your first notes again. Compare them with who you are now. What changed? What stayed the same? What patterns surprised you? What mistakes keep repeating? Write everything down. Your brain can ignore vague memories. It's much harder to ignore evidence written in your own handwriting. When your patterns become visible, they become harder to deny. But remember something important. This process isn't a cure for everything. If you're struggling with severe addiction or other deeply rooted problems, awareness alone may not be enough. Some challenges require professional support, major life changes, or other forms of help. This framework is designed to help you become more conscious of your thinking, not to replace appropriate treatment where it's needed. And finally, nothing I've shared today will work. If you're trying to become someone you don't genuinely want to be, you can't force meaning. You can't manufacture curiosity. The strongest systems are built around genuine interest, because discipline may keep you moving for a while, but genuine interest is what keeps you building long after motivation disappears. By now, you might think the solution is to stop using words. It isn't. Words are tools. The problem begins when the tool starts controlling the person using it. Throughout this video, we've seen how language organizes reality, how society depends on shared systems, and how identity can quietly form from repeated labels. So the question isn't, how do I escape the system? The better question is, how do I use the system without becoming trapped by it? The answer is simple. Build your own operating system. Most people don't consciously choose how they think. They inherit it. Parents, schools, friends, culture, social media. None of these are inherently good or bad, but if you never examine them, you'll spend your entire life running software someone else installed. Building your own system doesn't mean rejecting everything you've been taught. It means questioning everything you've accepted, not with the intention of proving people wrong, but with the intention of understanding why you believe what you believe. Ask yourself questions most people never ask. Why does this belief exist? What evidence supports it? Does this belief describe reality, or does it simply make me feel comfortable? Most people protect their beliefs as if they are protecting themselves. That's because over time, beliefs become identity, and when identity feels threatened, people stop thinking, they start defending. Don't build your life around defending ideas. Build it around discovering better ones. That requires something many people avoid, the willingness to be wrong, not because being wrong is enjoyable, but because every time a false belief disappears, reality becomes a little clearer. Your goal is not to collect more opinions. Your goal is to build a way of thinking that gets closer to reality over time. That means keeping what works, discarding what doesn't, changing your mind when better evidence appears, and refusing to let your ego decide what's true. You don't need to destroy society. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You don't need to win every argument. You only need to become someone whose thinking is guided by reality instead of habit. Because in the end, self-mastery isn't controlling other people. It isn't controlling the world. It isn't even controlling every thought that enters your mind. Self-mastery is becoming conscious of the systems running inside you and deciding deliberately which ones deserve to stay. That is how you build your own, not by escaping the world, but by learning to think for yourself while living within it.